Hello and welcome to the presentation about TimelyCare. I always start off with this slide. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, take out your phone right now and go ahead and take a picture of this QR code, because I guarantee by the end of this session, you will definitely want to download TimelyCare. My name is Chris Fiorello. I'm the Director of Wellness and Health Promotion here at Seattle University, and I use he, him pronouns. And I'm really excited to talk to you about one of the wellness resources that we have. And actually today we're going to talk about two different wellness resources, but this first one is TimelyCare. TimelyCare is 24-hour access to telehealth and teletherapy for students. And actually they have more services than just that, but those are the ones that folks are really interested in. And what I love about TimelyCare is that it is folks who are working with college students every day. And so when we talk about what our students' experiences are, and I'll actually show you a slide later that it gives you our actual numbers, we know that students are rating their experiences with TimelyCare professionals incredibly highly. Now, I don't want you to give you the impression that TimelyCare is our only option for medical and health on campus. In fact, we have CAPS, Counseling and Psychological Services, which is our counseling center on campus, and our student health center. And both of those are staffed by licensed clinical professionals and are able to directly help students. What TimelyCare does really effectively is supplements that and allows students that 24-hour access to what they need and extended hours access. So I'm going to begin by showing you a little video that introduces you to what TimelyCare is.
Hey there, we're TimelyMD, the leading virtual health and well-being provider for students that enables colleges and universities to reduce risk and retain students through equitable, on-demand access to care. With TimelyMD, you're gaining access to the TimelyCare 24/7 virtual health and well-being platform. Accessing virtual care is easy. Simply download the app on a mobile device or log in at TimelyCare.com. To get started, create a profile, choose the care you need, and get connected with one of our diverse qualified providers who is trained using evidence-based clinical care guidelines designed specifically for college students. You can select on-demand support to see a provider right away, or scheduled support to select a provider and a date and time that works with your calendar. TimelyCare services are chosen by your school for your school. Our complete care package includes mental health, medical care, health coaching, psychiatry, and self-care content. But support goes beyond your connection with a provider. Our care coordinators help make sure you are supported both before and after a visit. Providers share care summaries back to campus healthcare resources for continuity of care and care progression. TimelyCare gives students access to the virtual care they need at no cost. That's right, it's free. No insurance needed. It's 24/7 equitable care from anywhere. TimelyCare, it's for students for free. Get started by visiting TimelyCare.com or download the TimelyCare app. Hey there.
It always repeats that video. So what are the resources offered through TimelyCare, and what does this look like? Well, there are 7 primary resources offered through TimelyCare, and I'll actually give you a little bit of an insight into each one individually. But there's a medical now service, talk now, scheduled medical, scheduled counseling, psychiatry, health coaching, and self-care content to help support students in a number of different ways. With regard to the medical, we have unlimited 24/7 on-demand medical visits. The average wait time to get access to a medical visit is 9 minutes, which is an incredibly short period of time. TimelyCare staffs the on-demand medical line with licensed professionals, generally at the MD or DO licensure. But also in the state of Washington, they do have ARNPs, so nurse practitioners, staffing those lines. I do want to emphasize it's unlimited visits for medical, which means that before as you're making decisions about what to do about your treatment, it's okay to just check in with TimelyCare about that. So maybe you had a little bit of a fall, you're not sure if you should go to urgent care, emergency care, or if you should just wait to see a doctor the next day. You can actually check in with TimelyCare. The sort of bread and butter of TimelyCare's medical service are kind of the average everyday things that you can diagnose through telehealth. These tend to be upper respiratory issues. They tend to be rashes, things like that. Those are all things that TimelyCare can work with and assist with. And again, it's available to students whether it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 a.m. The next that I'll talk about is our scheduled counseling. The scheduled counseling service utilizes licensed counselors in that state, in the state of Washington in particular, but it's really important to know that TimelyCare is a service that is available in all 50 states and the District of Columbia. So if students were going home for the summer, all they need to do is uh, switch their zip code to the new zip code where they are, and they'll be able to select from providers that are local. Scheduled counseling services are slightly limited. There are 12 sessions that students can have per year. And so I want to actually talk a little bit about those 12 sessions and that number, because a lot of people come back to me and say, oh, geez, what can I get done in 12 sessions? And actually, the model for short-term and counseling is actually about 5 sessions. So with 12 sessions per year, you actually have a lot of opportunity. And when you think about it, that's 3 months of weekly visits or 6 months of visits every other week. The TimelyCare session limit resets on August 1st. I will say, that there's some new things coming out with TimelyCare where students may be able to, or will be able to, excuse me, pay for sessions out of pocket if they go beyond 12 sessions and they choose to stay with TimelyCare. However, one of the important things to know is that there is a care navigator to help transition a student from TimelyCare to maybe a care provider who takes their insurance, who's local. And so these care navigators really help assist students with that transition. Talk Now is an unlimited 24/7 on-demand mental health support. It's really designed for crisis management. But when I say crisis, I do mean that it can be suicidal ideation, suicidal thought, but it actually can be whatever a student thinks of as crisis. So if you're on your way to an anatomy and physiology exam and you start to have those little bit of, short breathing, you're feeling a little overwhelmed, you're feeling anxious on your way, that's a good time to just stop, hit the Talk Now button, and on average, we're looking at about a 5-minute wait time to talk to a professional in that moment. Now, they're going to do an immediate risk assessment, but after that, their whole goal is to get you to a point where you can then move on with the next steps of your life and then also refer you into either our clinics or to a TimelyCare counselor. So really, Talk Now offers a lot of benefit to students as a great supplement to existing counseling resources. And one of the things I love, because Talk Now is a crisis support line, it doesn't have the same licensure restrictions. And what I mean by that is it can be used internationally. So this is a service that can be used by students when they are abroad or for international students when they've returned home. Health coaching. Now, we do health coaching here in Wellness and Health Promotion. However, TimelyCare does have some expertise that I really happen to like. Their nutritionists, their general coaches are absolutely fantastic and get very highly rated. And so they're going to help students to develop those really healthy lifestyle choices, and really work with students to look at how they can integrate well-being into their lives. And I know there's the person in really great shape jogging on a treadmill here, but it really is for anyone, regardless of whether you're the kind of person who that's your movement, or you're a little more like me, where I like to take a walk a couple of times a week. And sometimes I need somebody to check in with to make sure that I've gone and done my walks. I'm going to show a brief video now about some of the newer features that I happen to really like about TimelyCare. I believe this one is self-care journeys. If it isn't, it's a conversation. It's the TimelyCare conversations. But let me go ahead and show this video.
TimelyCare goes beyond just visits with providers. It's also a platform that empowers you to take ownership of your health and well-being. Welcome to Self-Care Journeys. This 24/7 easy-to-use experience puts you in control of your wellness. Tap on Explore to find all things self-care. Here, you can engage with resources to help navigate your unique health challenges and set goals to achieve better health and well-being. You'll find topics including how to manage stress, maintain healthy relationships, and form healthy eating habits. To begin, click on a journey. As you go through each journey, you'll find self-care tools, such as yoga and meditation sessions, as well as short videos and resources from our diverse team of experts to help you set goals and get you where you need to go. This is your wellness journey. TimelyCare. It's for students for free.
All right. So that is their self-care journeys, and I really appreciate having those incredible resources available and the fact that it's really evidence-based practices. This next video is going to talk a little bit about TimelyCare conversations and what that looks like. And it really is an interactive feature that students can engage with and engage with peers, as well as the sort of moderators through TimelyCare.
With peer community in TimelyCare, you can share and validate your life's experiences. This 24/7 virtual peer-to-peer support gives you the opportunity to share your thoughts, feelings, and emotions with a nationwide community of students who face the same challenges as you. To get started, select Community. Tap the plus sign to create a post. Type what's on your mind. Everything you share in peer community is anonymous. Then, select a category for your post. If you don't find what you're looking for, select Other. You can check the box for this notification to not come up again. Tap Continue to accept the terms for submitting your post. In addition to posting, you can also comment on and support other posts. Tap Add Comment and type your response. Tap the back.
All right, I'm not going to go through all of the instructions on how to utilize peer communities, but I really wanted you to see that peer community is a really great way to anonymously share your experiences and get feedback from peers, as well as the community moderators that are out there in the peer community. So you might be wondering, how do our students feel about TimelyCare? Well, I'm going to start off with telling you the results. One is that the average medical wait time, as of the last time this was updated, was 9 minutes. The average Talk Now wait time was 4 minutes. I think that's edged a little closer to 5 minutes, but I can't think of any other situation in which you get access to on-demand conversation and on-demand medical in 9 minutes and 4 minutes. That's kind of an unusual thing. In fact, I can share with you through my insurance, I do have an on-demand medical, and it's usually about an hour wait to get access to it. So the fact that we can do this in 10 minutes roughly is pretty amazing. We do ask, and TimelyCare does ask, How are folks feeling about their symptoms after a visit with Talk Now, after a visit with the clinical mental health counselors? And we see among 81% of students an improvement just in that visit. You may also be wondering, how do students feel about providers? This is our real data. And as you can see, in pretty much all of those categories, we're looking at about a 4.9 or higher and 4.8 for medical. And I know people with much lower Uber scores than that. So I would definitely, that's as good as the jokes are going to get, folks. I would definitely say that these are a pretty impressive testimonial that students have created to how quality the experience is with TimelyCare. So I just want to remind folks, getting care through TimelyCare is easy. Once you're logged into the system, you simply press the button, you select the provider, you select the time and date, and that's it. Providers are sorted by first available, but particularly for counseling, there is the ability to filter providers based on various demographic characteristics and various practice, like what kind of therapy they practice. The bios are pretty full in terms of the information about folks. So you might be wondering, how do I start a visit with TimelyCare? Well, you can go to the app, timeleycare.com/SeattleU, the web-based platform, or you can download the app. When you type in your Seattle U email address, it will instantly bring you to log in to the to the Seattle University system. From there, you just have to spend about 10 minutes putting in some basic information. Now, I will say that they've done a great job in saying that folks can skip some of the information in terms of history. But if you're going to utilize, so that folks can get sort of immediate care, but if you're really going to be utilizing any of the medical platform, it's a great idea to just download it now, fill out this information. So here are some other great things, since I know folks are here for orientation, that I just want to kind of mention. The first is that through the TimelyCare app, um, students get access to it 30 days before their first class, and they continue to get access to it through breaks, leaves of absence, all the way till 90 days after graduation. So students continue to get support for 90 days after graduation. And I just think that that's something really wonderful and special about TimelyCare, that they worked with us to extend that kind of care for our students. Two other things that I'll mention is that there is the ability to invite other people into a session. So perhaps somebody is um, needing a family member to be present with them while having a conversation. There is the ability for a student to choose to invite somebody into that conversation. Totally the option of the student, of course. And then the second is there's a translator service where TimelyCare has contracted with professional translators. And as a student gets in, if they choose that they need translation services for talking to the provider, um, there are translation services available in 230 languages. So really something that's incredibly impressive. So that is the core of TimelyCare. And those are the supports that are available. If you ever have questions about TimelyCare, certainly feel free to shoot us an email at wellness@seattleu.edu. We'd be more than happy to talk to you about the services. All right, so now we're going to talk about a second app that the university has just gotten access to. And it is actually through our relationship, through the C2 partnership that we're doing between Seattle University, the state of Washington, and the government of India. in building what is the Roundglass Center, and Roundglass Living is actually an app. And so, as part of this relationship, Roundglass offered to give access to all of our students, faculty, and staff. So, I've talked to Roundglass several times. What is it? Well, Roundglass is a mindfulness and meditation app. You can kind of think about this as Calm combined with your yoga app, combined with your recipe app. There's a lot of really great features built into Roundglass. Um, it's research based, so meaning that while maybe some of the practices are evidence based, that there's been actual research and study on that, it's grounded at the very least in research that says that these practices should work for improving self awareness, self regulation, and self transcendence, which relates back to this the ideas of sort of a holistic experience, which is very aligned with the Jesuit values. Um, so students, as they get access to it, and you simply do this by signing in with your Seattle University email address from downloading the Roundglass app from either the iOS store or the Google Play store. They'll be asked, what are your goals? So your goals might be to reduce stress. It might be to deepen my own self-awareness. It might be to improve sleep or relationships. Click on the goals that fit your lifestyle. And what will happen from there is that Roundglass will personalize a journey that it suggests try 5 minutes of this particular activity in the morning, try 5 minutes of this activity in the afternoon, and 5 minutes of this activity in the evening. And there's various videos, but it's not just limited to videos. It also has recipe recommendations, music. And some of the things I like about the music and the meditations that are involved is it's sometimes it's your soundtrack for sort of like your well-being, but then also sometimes it's somebody while you're listening to music talking you through how to engage in gratitude practices, how to engage in mindfulness or meditation. Those are all pieces of the Roundglass platform. And so this is free to students, and that's amazing. You can really, as I said, customize your journey for your particular needs, and you can change that journey at any point. Um, and it, and then you can also say, this is how much of this that I want to do in a day. And I feel like sometimes there can be pressure, especially in the sort of like self-care wellness industry of, oh, you need to do X number of minutes a day, or you need to do this. I'm a wellness professional. I want you to do self-care, but you also have to be realistic with what's going on in your life at any given time. So you don't have to do every journey. You don't have to do 20 minutes a day. If 5 minutes works for you twice a week, that's an amazing goal. And work towards achieving that. And that's what I really love about Roundglass is that you can limit the times that you're utilizing these things and really go through their journeys in a style that fits you. Roundglass is actually really an international organization that has really reached out to some amazing practitioners of breath work, of yoga, of mindfulness and meditation, and put together some really amazing teachers that range from a number of uh, cultural backgrounds as well as um, the practice background. So that is, what is the history and the roots of that particular tradition, and practitioners who practice various forms of each of those. And so really, this is something that I have thought is really a fantastic opportunity for students. So that's the core of Roundglass. And so I hope that you give it a try. We're really excited that we're launching this partnership and that it truly does focus on holistic wellness.